we have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at PurelyArsenalFP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to the first of the season. Sit down at a Purely Arsenal podcast. It's a winning start to the season, which isn't the norm for us. I've got Neil Shah with me. How you doing, Neil?
Good omen, isn't it? First win of the season.
Yeah. Last
win of the season to secure the Prem. Love it.
Oh, mate, getting ahead of yourself. I like the optimism, though. It's back. Got James Johnstone with me as well. How you doing, James?
Yeah, good morning. Stop the count. End it now.
End it right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's safe enough to be playing football.
Yeah.
After last night's game, I think that, we've seen enough now.
Absolutely. No matter what happens this weekend, we are joint top. So what are you going to do about it? The league doesn't lie, does it? That's what you've got to remember. It doesn't lie. We're joint top.
It's all about consistency, isn't it?
It's all about consistency. Yeah, you got to win. You can only beat the team in front of you, and that's where we're at. But look, I mean, we've done a few over the summer, but it's mainly been talking about transfer window. We didn't really do a season preview as such, so we'll talk a little bit. And I've got a few questions to mix that in. But it was a huge build up to this game. It did feel like quite a long summer, even though the season started a little bit earlier, which is quite funny. Palace, difficult team away from home, Neil. 4 losses at home last season altogether. They beat some big sides at home, right? I mean, they smashed Spurs. I think they drew with Man City last season. I looked at a little bit at the stats as well, and not a lot of teams get a ton of shots away. Even the likes of Liverpool were 13, 14 shots in a game last season, even though they won the game. We had 10 or 11 yesterday.
10, yeah.
But yeah, 10. I think it was 10 yesterday. One conclusion though, Neil. I mean, obviously thoughts on the game. Great win, 2-0 win. But what's the sort of conclusion that you draw away from that first game? Much changed side from the first game of last season, like massively changed. What would be that sort of one thing that you draw away from the game after that win?
Mindset and attitude, I think. Palace is a very difficult ground to go to. You just basically went over that yourself in terms of, big teams, do struggle there. It's a hard atmosphere. The crowd can be electric. I was actually surprised. I thought the crowd were a little bit quieter than last season, but I think that was simply because they didn't score. If they'd scored, I think it would have been a different game altogether. And I think we would have been in a bit of trouble, I think, if they'd scored a goal, because that would have really buoyed the crowd somewhat significantly. And I just feel that by them not having the end product yesterday saved our bacon a little bit. But having said that, there was a player there who we've actually could consider a new signing, but isn't. I'm talking about the monster Saliba, and I think he was unbelievable. His first game for us, or competitive game for us, and boy, he was something else. I mean, we saw him in pre-season. We were pretty decent pre-season. We were absolutely smashing it. We got 10 goals in 2 games, which was a little unheard of. We used to do it. We were known for scoring plenty of goals in the past, and over the last few seasons, that's not something that we've been capable of doing, especially completing or finishing a game off in the first 20 minutes. And then we started seeing something very, very different in pre-season. But yes, I know, heard everyone say, it's only pre-season, you can't count it. It's not the real thing, and blah, blah, blah. But there was something very different for me in this pre-season compared to the last few years in the pre-seasons before. And I think from that way we started in the first 20 minutes or so, and then to be kind of drawn back again it's like reminding me, I started getting very jittery. Am I starting to see the old Arsenal of last season again when things are going bad? But to be fair, going back to the defence, yeah, we had that bit of moments where you thought, what are we doing? Ramsdale was guilty for a couple of little moments, and you thought, that's not helping us and giving them confidence as well. You see, it's not just about not helping us, but then it buoys up the opposition and also the crowd.
Yeah,
exactly. But we stood firm, and we got the result at the end of the day. Now I think that's the difference. We had the attitude and the mentality to be determined. Although we were making errors, we stood firm, and we managed to get past the finishing line successfully and win it. And I think that will be a massive boost going forward, because last season we had the same kind of similar away game or away start to Brentford. We knew that their team, it was very similar. Their crowd's going to be amazingly up for it. I think it was the first time in the Prem for them, wasn't it? I think. So, so it was a very similar thing. And then, but the difference was last season, after that game, we had City and Chelsea. This season, I think, is different, Jack, because we've managed to win. That's going to have obviously given a lift to all the players, the manager, the club as a whole. And actually, looking at the next 3 or 4 fixtures, they're winnable.
Yeah,
they're not.
Properly,
every game in the Prem, we've known that for years now. Any team can beat any team in the Prem. It's a given. But I just think, looking on paper, the way we've started pre-season, we have followed that up. Maybe not the way we were all expecting, but we have managed to get the 3 points on the board, which is a rarity these days for us, the first game. And I think that's going to really help us mentally. So I've taken away 2 things, actually, our mindset or mentality, if you like. And then I think also the confidence now to keep that momentum going. I think we're going to have a good start of the first 3 or 4 games minimum. I really do.
Yeah.
So that's what I took away from it.
It's positive. And you make a great point on that, because it's a different type of season, isn't it? You've got the World Cup in the middle. Starting fast is really important this season, because you've got that break. You don't really know how teams are going to come back from that. It could be really interesting. I don't know if you remember when we had Ozil and Mertesacker just after they won the World Cup, and it took them a while to sort of get going. Do you know what I mean? Like it was almost that World Cup hangover, and maybe because they won it, but also just coming back from that kind of competition. It's huge competition for lots of top players, right? So and we've got a few players that will be quite interesting that we might need to utilise a little bit more in the second part of the season that aren't going to the World Cup. The Tierney's, maybe the Smith Rose, hopefully he goes, of course, and 1 or 2 others. Zinchenko, of course, they're not going to the Odegaard, not going to the World Cup, so we can sort of play with that a little bit. But James, what about you? What's your big takeaways from this game? Huge result, but takeaways from the way we set up our style, our performance.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of things that are definitely a massive improvement compared to last season. And I think, even the most ardent of people that are anti whatever the club's doing or anti this manager can even somewhat concede that there is an improvement there. Mainly even in the fact that there are 3 additions, and I will class William Saliba as an addition, because we've never seen him, that we've all spoken about, have instantly improved that starting 11. There's obviously one glaring weakness that we all keep saying we need to get to improve the starting 11, how we think that's meant to be.
We'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah, no worries. But very, very, very happy. That is a game, I believe, had we had not made the 2 big additions that we already have, which have been Zinchenko and have been Gabriel Jesus, we probably would have lost that if they weren't there. I think that the way they come in and the way they played lifted the other players, because there was a lot of stuff there that they did that was confident and brave that you wouldn't have got out of players that we had last season. Nuno Tavares, for all that I do think there is a player in there, wouldn't have been as brave as Zinchenko for that set piece. And if you remember, it was him that got absolutely rinsed at that game last year because Tierney wasn't available at the time. And Zinchenko, for all that in that second half, and I know you probably want to touch on it later on, was defensively somewhat naive compared to what you get from Tierney. I thought the first half he was absolutely brilliant, especially going forward and especially on our goal, Jack.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I know I'm just rewatching the goal now, which is why I'm having a quick look to the left. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you wouldn't see that from a typical left back, would you? I mean, he's there. in all that space. You know, he's not obviously known for his aerial ability, but just gets it back across. But again, he's away to sort of the positions he finds himself in as well. They're just quite abnormal for what we've found from left back, aren't they? And quite refreshing.
After the game, Jack, Arteta was on Sky, and Neville and Carragher, bless them, they had a face like a smacked arse because they couldn't start dancing to the Palace fans, and you know, all their bits of paper they had with all their jokes that they probably had all week, all, you know, going to people at Sky, oh, can you give me some funny puns or something for when Crystal Palace, you know, what Eagle-related pun can you give me or Arsenal-related? So they've had to rip all their jokes up and, oh, I've got to praise Arsenal now. Oh, God, how am I going to do that? And but no, Arteta was there, and they said about the set piece, and they said about the set piece coach, and he was laughing, and he didn't want to give much away, but he said that's actually something we practice. But he said because they would Neville and Carragher were just like, look, theoretically looking back at the set piece and the move, they went, you've left Ben White on the edge of the box on his own. And he went, if that went wrong, he's in a foot race with Zaha. And they went, we all know who's going to, even Arteta was like, yeah, I know who's winning that foot race as well. But he said that, no, Zinchenko, and you can see it when you watch it back before the goal, he goes to Ben, like, stay there. He's so confident, I'm going to win this second ball or whatever. I'm going to get that ball. And yeah, thank God that he did. I mean, Martinelli, got to be in there, got to be involved. That's the sort of zone you want that ball to land in. And a bit reminiscent of the second goal Brentford scored against us, really. Got it in a really annoying area and
long throwing.
Remember? Yeah, just get it in. Yeah, but it was in that, you know, just area there. Make a nuisance of yourself and tuck it in. And I think their keeper should have done better, but thank God he didn't.
Yeah, by the 23rd minute, we had 12 touches in the opposition box. They'd had one. Yes. I mean, we were dominant, weren't we? And
and Jesus had 10 in the whole game. And it's like I messaged you yesterday. I'd love to see how many touches in the opposition box Lacazette had got. You know, I don't think he'd ever got 10 in one game last season. No.
I mean, well, we've got to touch on it, as both of you said it. Will Saliba, I mean, I think Gary Neville said, you know, he reminds me of Rio Ferdinand, and I think that's being kind to Rio Ferdinand, to be honest, because I don't ever remember Rio Ferdinand being that good at 21. Not from my experience, not at a top club like that. I don't know what age he went to Man U, but I think he was still at Leeds at 21, wasn't he?
Older.
I mean, William Saliba, I don't think I'm exaggerating it when I say at the end of the season, the discussion will be who's a better centre-back, William Saliba or Virgil van Dijk. I think that's what we're going to be discussing, to be honest, boys. I think he is that good. I mean, you all do. I mean, James, we had one podcast or two over the summer and kind of discussed, you know, Will Saliba a little bit. And obviously, I think, Neil, you know, even last season on the pod, we were talking about it, referencing him quite a lot and, you know, what he could offer. And I don't want to visit, you know, whether he should have been here last season or not. It's just fantastic that he's here now. We can talk a little bit on the contract, but I think we've got to discuss just how sort of calming and reassured he looks at centre-back. He just looks like this man mountain that never really is pushing himself to the maximum, right? You know, like, almost like BBD. Like when you watch Van Dijk, he always looks like he's playing within himself, doesn't he? He always looks like everything's under control, which is why whenever it's not with him, like maybe the Real Madrid Cup final, you kind of look and go, whoa, everyone's shocked by it, aren't they? And Saliba just looks so much like that to me. And I think he helped Ben White out considerably, but who I thought did a commendable job. And I don't think we can really talk about one without the other, because I think they both did a tremendous job on Zaha, who was the big threat, really, weren't they? I mean, Edouard was almost non-existent. They took him off at 55, brought Mateta on, who just tried to foul everyone for 35 minutes. I mean, centrally, they weren't troubling us at all, I didn't feel. But it was Zaha, who's horribly tricky and really difficult to deal with. And I was thinking about it. I was like, why am I so nervous about every time Zaha gets the ball? And I think he is, other than Son and, you know, you could argue probably a Diaz now at Liverpool, he's probably the trickiest winger, a left-sided winger in the league, isn't he? So
he's got that like Son and like Vardy, where he does these little movements and he can wrap his own leg sort of around your leg. And he goes down. He's very good at drawing the fouls, mate. You'll probably see it more from Grealish now that he starts for City. And I think he needs a big season. I don't think people, you know, you've said it, Jack, plenty of times, and I don't think enough people went in on Grealish last year for how he performed at City.
If he was an Arsenal,
I think they were Yeah, I think they're very soft on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he really is good at, getting you in there and everything else. And do you know what? I thought, other than 2 rickets that I can really remember, I thought Ben White handled that assignment last night perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think that's because he had Saliba next to every time Saliba went to ground, Jack, it's clean. It's clean. He doesn't make any foul that's late or, rash per se.
The amazing thing was, James, I mean, even my brother, who was very sceptical on Saliba last season and claims he wasn't now, but he's been sending me voice messages for the last sort of 10 minutes just talking about Saliba. And he said, I don't remember a debut like it, to be honest. And I don't really remember a real error from him. I think the biggest error he had was one long ball that went out of play, but that's not an error really, is it? I mean, it's just you're going to have those moments. He had 94% pass accuracy, I think you sent me. But Neil, what do you think he allows us to do? Because it's really, I mean, obviously fantastic performance, talk on that. But what do you think Saliba allows this team to I think it allows it to go to the next level. But I just think we're going to get back to a situation where, and I really do like Ben White. I do. I'm not someone that sort of has this feeling that, that's it for Ben White or anything like that. I think he's still got a huge part to play. But I think we are going to get to the point where he's just going to be undroppable, Neil. He's just too good.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
I might be surprised if he gets player this season. We're all talking about Jesus and how good he's been pre-season and what he could probably offer the club, which he will. He'll be amazing. We've seen it. He's Lacazette. Lacazette's in theory, he's his replacement, and he's on Lacazette with steroids, isn't he? He's just a different level. With all due respect to Lacazette, I always like Lacazette. I always admire his work rate, etc. But Jesus is just a different level, and the difference is, Jack, is Jesus and Zinchenko have come from a winning side. They're winners. They know what it's all about. And I think by them coming into the team has had to lift the rest of the players, because it's infectious. So with that at the front, and obviously with Zinchenko at the back in that defensive lineup, you've got Saliba who's come in, who I just think is world class. I'm sorry to say it's only one game, but I'm only going to say he's world class because he's, as you guys have just said, he's very calm and cool. He does everything with this degree of assuredness. And that's what will help the rest of the team. Because if you've got a defender who's good, like Ben White and like Gabriel, I think Gabriel and Saliba's partnership is going to be the next Adams, Keown. I think they're going to be the next thing, the next new back four, part of the next new back four, I believe. But when you've got that added calmness from Saliba, it rubs off the rest. They're like, wow, that was a difficult moment, but look how he handled it. There was one moment in the first half. I know we didn't have to do much in the first half. I think it was the first half where we got ourselves in a little bit of trouble. And his trickery, it wasn't just it's pleasant to see. It was just so calm. And he just completely nullified what Palace were trying to do in one of their moments that they had in the first half. I'm like, oh my God. And even the commentators or the pundits were like, yeah, that's impressive. You can't, there was nothing negative to say about him. And in a way, Jack, he was so good, we don't have to talk about him. He's one of those, where you have a game where a player just does their job so well, you actually don't have to talk about them. And what he gives the team, Jack, is the ability, the confidence to be creative and to move forward through the midfield, through the front line. Because if we're struggling at the back, that will dismantle everything we're trying to do as a creative and an attacking setup. And I think Arteta, having mentioned the documentary, but from what I've gathered in that documentary, is that he does want the team to be attacking when they can be, and he wants them to push forward. And if the players are all worried about the defence, and then a lot of the midfield players who normally would be a creative output have to also muck in and defend, you can't do that. You can't be free to do that. And Saliba is going to work so well with Gabriel. And again, this is with all due respect to Ben White. I like him too, but I think it's just up the level, Jack. And I think we're going to be able to be comfortable with being a little bit more kind of spontaneous up front. It's like the goal that you talked about, the first goal. Ben White was awesome there because he basically pushed and distracted Zaha, which allowed Zinchenko to do what he did. And that was a great header, by the way. It was a great assist. Let's not mock it. And then and I think it's like examples like that when you've got the confidence at the back to be able to do things in that manner. And I just think he's going to be absolutely world class, and I think he's going to be an undroppable player. And that's it. This is my only worry. I mean, as good as he is, as good as Jesus has been, as good as these type of players have lifted us to potentially in a top 4 outfit, let's say. Please don't tempt fate, but I worry about them missing in action, and I won't say anything else. But that's where I think we still potentially might need a couple more signings before the window closes. Yeah,
and we'll get to that. I know my Zoom is maybe not upgraded as where it needs to be, and we might have to start a second meeting on this in 7 minutes because it's usually I had unlimited time. It didn't tell me otherwise, but we'll figure it out in 6.5 minutes. But I agree with all your points on that Neil. I think I agree. I think he is a world-class centre-back. Saliba, and that is amazing to say after such a short period of time being at the club. But it's been a long time coming for Saliba. We've watched him quite a lot, Arsenal fans. I don't think when you heard Neville and Carragher, they almost seemed a little bit surprised. And I was like, well, this is why Arsenal fans have been talking about this player for a long time. We've been watching this player, and we've seen that he could be a real sort of elite talent for us. And I'm really curious. I think that's where pre-season does come in really handy, because if Tomiyasu was fit, I'm not certain Saliba is in the moment that he's in now under Mikel Arteta, because I think he probably sticks with the same back 4 he put in pre-season, and maybe Saliba isn't quite in the team yet, as crazy as that sounds after seeing him play like that. But, just because of familiarity, Saliba's just come back. Do you know what I mean? So I think, just sorry to interrupt, I think in a weird way, we've always been cursed with injuries, but in recent times, they've given us a bit of a good hand, because Smith Rowe started only because of an injury to another player, if you remember. And look, and a couple of players like that, and exactly that. Tomiyasu being absent,
Willian being a naughty boy at Christmas. Yeah, that's how he got in. Yeah. So it's almost as if like a little bit of fate has worked in our favour, and I think that's the same can be said. Exactly what you said there, with Tomiyasu being out, and that does provide an interesting conundrum now. Because when Tomiyasu's back, that will be quite interesting to see. But because it's going to be a good headache for Arteta to have. I think we're fine at the back now. It's just those other couple of places. But one thing I forgot to mention, and I just want to say it, I now don't regret us not having Saliba earlier. It would have been great, but I think the time that he's been allowed to mature abroad and to, as a result, get into the French team, I think that has been tremendous. It is a brand new signing for us, even though we bought him 3 years ago. It's a brand new signing, and it's a world-class signing. That's the thing.
I will agree with you totally if he signs the new contract at some point this year. You know what I mean? That would be the sticking point for me, that if that year away suddenly made him feel, like he needed to look elsewhere for his future or something, which I hope it doesn't. I don't expect him to sign the contract now, which is those reports coming out saying he was, I thought were wide of the mark, because I was like, he's not played a competitive game. Who's going to sign a contract when you've not played a competitive game for a club you've been at for 3 years? It doesn't even make sense, does it? No matter what money you're putting on the table, not for a guy like that. But in a month's time, when he sees perhaps, I am a definitive starter in this team, I'm clearly it can be changed that quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Jack, I think he's going to sign, because I think he's going to get so much love from the fans. I think he wants to play for Arsenal. Last night, right? The problem we will have is whether we can keep him in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a good chance we can get him on this contract. I mean, because he's so young. And, I do think there's a good chance. But again, he goes in as a storming World Cup. Ideally, you want him tied down before the World Cup, I would say, because that can really create, like we've already heard about Barcelona.
I was going to say, Neil, you've made an excellent point, as per, because you're saying in 2 or 3 years they're going to be which they will be sniffing. But that's another reason, Neil, you have to tie him down, because then you put that massive, it's one of them, Neil. I mean, looking at the window that we've had so far, you've still got a lot of people complaining about these players that I don't know why they're complaining, because if I sat there and said to you, yeah, but would he start for you, Leno? Would Torreira start? Oh, no, they're not good enough. Then why do you care how much they go for? Let's just get rid of them, and we can get people that we actually want here. I don't know why we fret over people that we don't care about, but there we go. But no, Saliba, if Fofana, who was meant to be the worst of the two, even though he's brilliant, is an £80 million player, Neil, that's another reason why you signed Saliba down, because I'm like, no, if you want him, you're paying Arsenal top money. He's not one that, oh, let's give him his wages so that we could just let him go. No. I want at least 100 million plus for this boy, because that's what I believe. It even off one game, I believe this guy is. If he carries on this trajectory, he is 100 million plus player.
Yeah, and that's what you do once you get the contract set.
And I mean, to be fair,
tied down to that sort of level
people go on about Liverpool and Klopp and how good it is. They never mention the money, mate. That Coutinho sale is what all spurred it on.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to be able to, and that's the thing. I mean, we'll get to the sales in a minute, but I think this is the last summer I'll happily accept, us doing a car boot sale for players. After this summer, there is no excuse for that. Like, if we're selling players, we need to be getting decent fees from, because they're all the players that this board and this manager has signed. Before that, I understand the Nicolas Pepe conundrum. It's not a player you signed. I get it. I get the issue with that. But beyond that, if we're going to go and sell Nuno Tavares next summer, I want a fee coming back that's more than what we bought him for, at the very least. And I don't think that's too much to ask. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's fair. So, but yeah, moving on to a bit more into the game. I mean, we could have put the game to bed in the first 25 minutes. To be honest, Neil, we got about 1 minute here, and then I think James is going to restart the meeting on his link, and we'll combine the two with Anthony's wizard editry. Neil, we could have put away Martinelli, missed a huge chance, made up for it for the goal, of course. Does have to be a little bit more clinical. Do you have a little bit of concern, Neil, that
yes,
Odegaard, Martinelli specifically, and I can't really say Saka, because we've got to be more clinical for the goal, haven't we?
100%. I don't know how much time we got left, but yes, Odegaard had a couple of great chances, and I think he should have done better. And that would have really stamped his mark as captain as well. I believe. I know it's a silly thing to say, but it does. It helps the player as well, as much as everyone else around him. But Martinelli, I just want to see. I know he scored yesterday, and he got the score sheet. But I just want to see him. I want to feel more confident that he's going to score. He's great at everything else, but I want to see more end product from him, and that is the one thing I'm missing in his game. But I think it will improve. It will improve. But it is a concern. You are right.
Then he's elite. I think him and Odegaard, then they're elite. I mean, they're doing everything right. Odegaard's beautiful everywhere, and then gets there a little bit.
Fantastic player.
So James, Neil was just talking about being clinical through Odegaard and Martinelli. I do think that's really key. If you're comparing, I watched the moment that Jesus gave Odegaard the ball and he should have triggered. Release. I mean, that should have been game over second half, shouldn't it? He also had one in the first, but second half he just got caught under his feet, and the defender came in and took it away from him. But that is where Odegaard takes himself to the elite level, really. I mean, I kind of looked at Jesus and I was thinking he's used to knocking that across to De Bruyne, isn't he? But I don't think there's a lot of difference between, but there is in front of goal. But in between all that, the football, the way he handles the ball, the way he brings others into play, some unbelievable little flicks to get our attacks moving. I mean, he's just a beautiful footballer, Odegaard. But in front of goal, we saw it a little bit against Chelsea in pre-season. He needs to release that. He needs to get out of his feet and hit it early. Always takes the extra touch, always wants to play the extra pass, and Ozil did that at times, even at his peak level, and it used to really frustrate me. But the thing with Odegaard is I think he has the ability to be really elite in front of goal, because when he does release the trigger early, he's got an unbelievable shot on him, right? Seen it from the free kicks and things like that. But I think that's what takes us up a level, James, and I think that's why we feel we need that one more forward that's got that elite output. None of us are sure who it is anymore, but we need that one more. What do you think with that, James?
100% agree. That was the thing. I was when I was messaging my friends and my family whilst the game was going on, because one of them was saying, he's got the Ozils, look, he can do all this, but he ain't got that killer instinct himself, he's not selfish enough, and I'm like, well, he is a provider. That's what he's trying. He's just trying to be nice to his mates. There's nothing wrong with it per se in the thought process, but when you look at the execution, I mean, Jack, I don't want to be extremely harsh on the boy, but he should have had a hat trick, because he had the one in the first half, and then he had the two in the big one you're talking about in the second half. Is that one where he did try to slide it through? I'm like, you've definitely got to take that for yourself, and you're good enough. You are good. You're good enough to take that for yourself. And I mean, the free kick near the end, I don't want to, call him out for that, but he swads that quite nice, and that was just marginally wide.
Yeah.
So he's got, like you said, he's got all that in his locker. And unlike Ozil, he gives you the work rate as well. He's just as good going back and working hard. And I mean, if you want to touch on Saka yesterday, I didn't think it was one of Saka's best games. However, he again was another person helping out Ben White. He'd done all the dirty work that gets underappreciated. So sometimes what I might not get from Saka going forward, I'm not going to completely obliterate the boy, because he'd done the dirty stuff. He'd done the stuff that you don't really want to have to be doing, but he done it and he didn't moan.
That moment where Zaha kind of got by Ben White,
exactly.
and Saka just comes back.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No. You're 100% right. 100% right. And that's the sort of stuff we need to do. I like that you've got that, valiant is the word I like to use. I like that they seem to understand that, and they've got that in them a bit more now. Because obviously they're a year older, as well as, like I said, the two players that have come in. Sorry, the three, because I'm still counting Saliba as new. Sorry, my own sayings up there. The three of them. It's a little lift. It's just a nice lift going into the next couple of games we've got as well.
Yeah, I agree. Ramsdale, Neil, let's talk a little bit about Aaron Ramsdale. He's had a little bit of a tough period in the last few months of the season, but I thought he started the season tremendously. I think he was up there with the top goalkeepers in the league in that first 6 months, wasn't he, really? And, a little bit of moments in this game, though I thought made some fantastic saves. But big season for Ramsdale. Got the number 1 shirt now. Obviously, there is a distinguished difference between the number 1 and 2 this season, which makes you a little bit nervous, but also understanding that it's pretty difficult to keep 2 goalkeepers like Ramsdale and Leno happy, even for the top clubs. What were your thoughts on his performance, Neil, and what he can give us this season? I thought a couple of little moments that concern me.
He needs to, for me, I think the way he started was unbelievable. I would say he had the makings of the best goalkeeper in the world, let alone the league at one point. He was just phenomenal. Only because of not what he could do, from a skill point of view. He's just his attitude as a leader. I just thought he was amazing. And I was even touting him to be captain at one point because I thought he was that good from an attitude point of view. And so for me, I think there was a tangible drop throughout, during the course of last season. And, we could be being a bit unfair because you've got to remember, firstly, he's quite young. And, when you start off at those levels, you can only go one way. That's down. And that's going to happen. We're all human beings. We say it about Saka all the time, that we only talk about Saka when he's had a bit of a blip, even though, James, you just mentioned it a few moments ago, because he's so good. He's put that benchmark up. He's created it himself. He's created his own high benchmark, if you like. And every we see him a little bit drop, we're like, oh, my God, what's up? Is he all right? What's going on? So we panic a little bit. And I felt that a little bit like that with Ramsdale. But my only concern is it's starting to creep in a little bit too much for my liking or for my comfort, if you like. And there was a couple of moments just, and I thought, what are you doing? There was one moment, he was brilliant. There was that one distribution he made with his foot. We've seen it before. He just booted it out to his left. He found the player spot on, and we thought, wow. Even the pundits had to say, yeah, that was impressive. A few minutes later, he's done the same thing and he's kicked it straight at the opponent. And you think, that could have gone in. That could have gone anywhere. And we were lucky. We were lucky there. But when it happened, I was like, shit, that's in the back of the net. I'm like, oh, fuck, God, no. There's me lauding the guy. And then look at that, calamitous mistake. And he had another moment, a little, within minutes after that. And you just think, and he started making you feel a bit uneasy. Do you remember when Arteta wanted to play at the back? And Leno was struggling with that. Do you remember?
Really big time, yeah.
And I started feeling a little bit uneasy with when we were playing a little bit at the back and trying to play out from the back.
Do you remember the shot against Man City, first game of the season? He nearly kicked it into his own net.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then Ramsdale did what Ramsdale does, and he came out with a couple of great saves. All right, the first one, I think it was played a little bit near his body, which was fair enough. But the second one, but the second one when he just made himself look massive And, that was a great opportunity. That was a great pass. That was one thing I've got to say about Palace. That Anderson guy, oh my God, those passes, don't call them long balls. They're passes. They are to feet.
Yeah.
They are incredible passes. His vision is brilliant. And that almost undone us. But Ramsdale came to the rescue. That was a great save. So
I know what one you mean. That was actually a Ben White error, who had found himself at left back and started running out with a ball when Odegaard ended up at right back, didn't he?
Yeah. Sorry, yes, that's right. That's right. So yes, I have concerns, but look, Jack. Let's just go back to basics. He's a young keeper. He's got the responsibility. He's got the number 1 shirt. I think that's going to be massive for him. I know it's only a number, but I think it makes a difference. It does mentally make a difference. He's got the number 1 shirt, and he's got to grow into that. And I think if he can just trim those errors down, be a little bit more cuter sometimes. Yes, he's got great distribution. There's no doubt about it. But don't get complacent with that. Don't think that you're going to be able to hit it on the nail, hit it perfectly every single time you do it. And I think if he can just fine tune that, which he will do with his coach, I'm sure he will do. I don't have any concerns really. I mean, we're going to see errors from everyone at some point. It's football. They're only human beings. So let's not be too harsh. But I think he'll line them out. If it continues, and we see this uneasiness game after game after game, then it might be a concern, because we don't have the calibre of Leno to come in to take his place for a little while he sorts his head out. That's my only concern. I don't know much about Turner. We had Leno before, and he had to deputise for 1 game last season, and he was flawless when he had an amazing game. We were like, oh my God, what a game he's had. But we don't have that. Well, I don't think we have it yet with Turner. I don't know. As I said, I don't know much about him. We've lost our other keeper on loan, and so we're going to have to fall back to Runnison, aren't we? So
no, I think it's going to be Cole Hine. Cole Hine will be the Estonian goalkeeper.
Oh, but, okay. But we've got to be a little bit careful with that. But if you ask me from my heart, I think we'll be fine with him.
Got to keep him fit. Got to keep him fit. Yeah, I agree. He's so young. When you look at his age, I mean, he is, for a goalkeeper years, I mean, he's really young. When you think of sort of thing Chesney was doing at that age, you just go, okay. But I do agree with you. I mean, obviously, part of the way we play out from the back is to tempt and draw those attackers in, right? And so he's going to play into a vulnerable moment. But I agree with you. I actually think the trigger for their moments in the game came from the Ramsdale moment yesterday. Like, if you were watching the game early on, that first 20-25 minutes, it was around that time that Ramsdale had that little freakish moment, and then he did it again like 2 minutes later, and the crowd got up, and then suddenly Palace were kind of starting to move forward into the pitch a little bit. And I just think, don't be so cute there. If you need to clear it out or go a little bit long with it once or twice, do it and settle it down, and then come back to it. Yeah, and I agree with you. Sometimes he likes to, walk the tightrope a little bit with that. But like you said, I think he made some big saves for us, big saves, because it could easily have gone to 1-1 at a point. They did come back into the game, didn't they? And I don't like those moments of periods of the game where I feel like we've stepped off being a possession-based side and sat off a little bit again, and then tried to hit them on the counter. Unless I think our counter can be a lot more productive, James. I think we've got the players to be far, far faster than we were yesterday on the counter. We've got fast players, Saka, Martinelli, and we need to be able to. We did it. Well, I mean, really, the second goal, James, was really from that. I mean, it started, but then we went back a little bit. It was a really good passing move, but it started from basically a quick counter that went through Xhaka and out wide, but then it came back to party. Eddie got involved. James, what concerns did you have, I guess, yesterday? I mean, I sort of tweeted what my concerns were, which were typically with the player that we may want to replace over the next few weeks in the first team. What concerns did you have, other than that long sort of period of sitting off a little bit too much? Like you just touched on all before, it was mainly those Leno moments, and there were a few as well where we have the corners. They have the offensive corners, and he goes up and he does drop it, but he's so quick to get it back. And I'm like, mate, you're going to get caught out with this.
sometime this season, there is going to be someone that is that second quicker than you. Because I'm like, I can't have, I'm like, just bring it into your chest and keep it, you know, even if you have to lay on the ball, mate, take the seconds. But no, it was like we've said, Jack, I don't know if it's an Arteta thing. I don't know if it's the players conserving energy or whatever, but we saw it in the pre-season where we're scoring more, rampant, and whatever happened, because it's a league game, and that's when you think, no, let's really ton them in, because it's, get the goal difference up straight away, even in the first. It was just like, we're 1-0 up here, lads. Let's, it's got to the old, proceeding caution. And I was just like, well, that's what, and like you said, their crowd gives them a lift and everything. And I'm like, you're creating, what's the word I'm trying to look for? You're creating like pressure for yourself that's not needed.
Yeah. We're good enough to not have to do that.
Exactly.
Right.
And like I don't want to throw Granit Xhaka under the bus, because I actually think, other than his dive, he had a very solid game. However, where we're asking him to play a bit more forward, and he's going to be, like we're saying, that left 8, because, we've got Odegaard that can operate at that 10, but he's sort of doing an 8/10 together. So he's not as, further forward as a full-on 10, because he's coming in and then he's progressing the ball. If you're going to put Granit Xhaka there, I don't think he's that player, and you need productive. And Tielemans is the name that and you're going to get that productivity in terms of goals and assists, because he's used to being that further up, and he's that's what he can do. But no, I like I said, I thought we invited unnecessary pressure, and but we coped with it. We got the job done. And touching on the second goal, I thought, when Tierney come on, I thought he did very, very well. I think he locked that left side down, which helped.
Ayew was being a bit troubling when he's Zinchenko.
Exactly. I think Zinchenko, like I said earlier, just got a bit leggy out there, and defensively, I don't think, we all said defensively, I don't believe he's a better player than what Tierney is. However, in terms of fitness and, attacking output, he's probably, leagues above what Tierney is. So that helped big time. And then my mate Eddie comes off the bench with his new number 14 top. He's got a point to prove, just like Ramsdale in his number 1 shirt. And he done well when he come on. He showed, like I keep saying, I in the preseason when I saw him, I thought, do you know what, your hold up play's getting, but you're looking stronger first and foremost. Just visually, you're looking like you've got a bit more on your core strength there, and your chest's looking a bit puffy. I don't know if that's, again, could be that number 14 shirt. Maybe I will puff my chest out more. I've got, this is the shirt that Henri wore. I'm gonna have a bit of this.
He's definitely built a bit.
That's going to galvanise me a bit more. And he showed some good strength against, what I think are very, very good players, like Neil mentioned. Palace, they've got a good, Vieira's got good understanding there. I think, the chairman trusts him. Dougie Friedman, who was a legend there, who's like their technical director, he trusts him. Yeah. And, there was a time there where they were getting quite stressed with us, and they went to 4-2-4, Jack. They just had everybody just packing everybody in. Let's just give them sustained pressure. And like you said, when we're trying to pack and go on the counter, we eventually did get them, and that goal couldn't have come at a better time, because it completely just derailed their momentum. So, like I mentioned earlier, sorry, I keep repeating myself, very happy man, because we showed a side there that a lot of people, I don't think, give us credit for.
Yeah, and we withstained pressure, 1-0 up, and we didn't bring Rob Holding on. So there's your progress for you. There's your progress for you.
You know what? I saw him with his blonde hair on the bench. Like I said, the zoom of the angle when we were, and I was just like, "Is that how?" I was like, "He looks like Logan Paul." He looks like Logan. Well, he's done his hair now. Where it's
Odegaard's hair as well. I was mesmerised by Odegaard's hair. I don't know if he done. Honestly, it got an extra quiff on it in this game. It's looking beautiful.
Oh, I tell you what. If we're going to talk about Barnett's, I'm sorry, Lokonga's Clarence Seedorf 96 euros tribute.
Yes,
that boy's going all the way. Do not loan him.
got to borrow his quads though, isn't he? Seedorf's quads.
Yeah. He is my favourite footballer ever, actually. Seedorf,
yeah, unbelievable. Remember him and Davids in the midfield causing absolute carnage, weren't they? God, and mad. That was a Dutch team to be proud of, wasn't it? I mean, they were fantastic to watch.
They all ended up arguing with each other.
They never.
They said
De Boer's in there.
I think it was De Boer that I remember watching on something, and he said, they just all got too egotistic. It was a bit like what England said about the golden generation. They were obsessed with their clubs and they just couldn't divide the club rivalry.
Yeah, Holland do have a lot of
national.
They have a lot of that.
Yeah. It's like Arsenal, best team never to win the Champions League. They were the best team never to win the World Cup. Same thing.
Yeah, that well, I think they ended up with semi-final in that one. Oddly enough, they got further with a worse team, Arjen Robben. They lost their final to Spain, didn't they? That was nowhere near as good as that Dutch team that we watched as kids. But
no way.
Interesting. But Neil, in the end, good win. It wasn't given to Saka; it was given as an own goal, wasn't it? Because they're deflected, I believe. But again, it's good.
He got the assist though, so it's numbers. Jack, he's pulling his numbers in.
Zinchenko got one as well, getting his left back central midfield numbers in. Where is he playing? But Neil, let's talk a little bit about sales. We're doing a quick car boot sale. We don't care about prices anymore. We're getting everyone out the door all in one as quickly as we can. And I'm not that fussed about it. I mean, I do find the Leno thing quite ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, it's 4 million of Fulham go down, but yeah, I mean, I think we could do a little bit better. But Neil, in terms of sales, I think we got, obviously you mentioned Okonkwo, he's out the door. Balogun's gone on loan to a mid-table League One France club. I think he likely went there because he knows he's going to start. We've got a few others out. The Torreira's imminently moving if he ever gets off this some lounger in Italy. Who else is out the door that I'm missing here? Mari's almost out the door. Obviously, the ones that are left, Bellerin, Nelson, Niles, you'd expect to get out the door. But Neil, my question to you is, at the speed we're moving them out the door and the comments from Arteta post-game, it sounds like we're really active in the market still, which is really encouraging considering what we spent in it.
Yeah, it is. I think he is definitely looking for at least one more. I'd prefer two, but I think he's definitely looking for one more. He didn't make it a secret. He said we're looking. We're doing everything we can to get that player in or those players in, and if we can do it, he said we'll do it. But he says I'm not going to give anything more away other than that. So that's encouraging because I think we could do with two more. I really do believe we could do with two more, not one more. And I keep hesitating, but I'm glad you guys touched on it earlier. I keep hesitating myself because I've always thought we still need another upfront player. And then I think Baldowie, when I saw the pre-season, if you think about who we got, Martinelli, Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, Odegaard, in fact, now Jesus, and Eddie, I will say Eddie as well. And you think, do we need anything more up front? But actually, I'm not sure. I think I'm changing my mind all the time. 1 minute I think yes we do, then I think maybe not. Then
are you talking more central or wide or one or the other?
Yeah. I think just a powerful target man.
Be greedy, mate. Be greedy. You want him?
No.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. It's about intent. No, I want to be greedy. I want to be greedy.
Be greedy.
All right, if I can be greedy, then I think we need a target man, a very strong, powerful target man, right? That can also hold up the play when he needs to. So we need that. We need a central midfielder. I'm sorry, if Partey or Xhaka, something happens to either one of them, we're short again. Now I know Tierney could play, Zinchenko can move into the midfield, but he's not really that kind of player, I don't think. He's more of a creative outward going player, not so much of the sitting back, I'll do the dirty work. Because you just mentioned you're a bit concerned about his defensive capabilities. He's more going forward. So I think we do need someone of the Xhaka stroke Partey type player in the midfield. So I think target man, that one. And then I still worry about the attacking right winger. Saka has been playing he's probably played more than he's rested over the last 2-3 years, and he's not going to get rest again. We've got the Winter World Cup. He's not going to get the rest that the other players might, right? So he's just constantly playing, and that is really worrying me. As much he's a really strong lad, you know, we talked about the fact that he may have had not one of his better games. And then what does he do? He comes up with that run at the end.
Yeah.
And he scored a goal out of nowhere. I was really worrying. Even me, positive Neil, I was shitting myself yesterday. I thought it just takes one goal from Palace, and even if it's in the 90th minute, you're thinking they could win this 2-1 because the crowd will go like exponentially. They'll explode, right?
Such a relief,
and that Saka goal couldn't. Well, all right, it wasn't a Saka goal. It was an own goal, but it was created by Saka. Let's not beat around the bush. It was Saka's goal, for all intended purposes. It came at such an important time, and it kind of like, you know, dispelled all my fears, thinking, all right, he's not had the best game, but look, he still manages to do that. But that worries me. You're talking about if I have any concerns, Jack. I'm talking about concerns about Ramsdale. I've got more concerns about Saka, and if he can keep going the way he is. So I think we need someone there, because I could be wrong, but it's looking like we're going to get rid of Pepe. I mean, I could be wrong, but if he does go, I'm not so sure about bringing Martinelli over to the right. I know he can play on that side, but I'm not so sure about it.
No.
Right. So for me, if you can ask me, right back, right attacking right winger, or whatever you want to call it, midfielder and a forward. So greedy, James. If we get those three in, oh my God, we're winning the quad for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
They want to engage and listen to the fans. Josh.
Yeah. Be excited.
Neil has spoken.
Well, I mean, me and James offline a little bit because we are transfer window freaks a little bit. We've done quite well at calling this window so far, and I think our prediction is this week the central midfielder movement is happening, right? Like, we're thinking there's movement in the set, because what's really interesting is not who we're moving out, is how quickly we're willing to move players out. You know, like Nuno's on loan. Like we're just kind of shifting them out to try to clear the space in the squad, it feels like. And this is sort of more something we used to do the last week of the window. We're doing it 3 weeks, which makes you feel that there is possibly more than one signing coming in. And I have this slight belief that the reason we didn't move on a central midfielder early is because we didn't want to sell Granit Xhaka. And I think, let's say, for example, we bought a starting central midfielder a month ago when we signed Jesus, for example. He would have played in a lot of those pre-season games. And Granit Xhaka does not strike me as a sort of player that would be willing to come off the bench much. Does he do it to you? He seems like, I mean, he's basically been a starter for 5 years under 4 different managers, isn't he? So I think part of that is a bit of the Leno Ramsdale thing. You know, we brought Ramsdale in after the season started, didn't we? And Leno couldn't do anything anyway. Suddenly replaced him, and Leno was like, well, I'm stuck here. And suddenly we got 2 terrific goalkeepers for 1 year. And I think we'd be more than willing to sell Xhaka in a year, but I don't think we're willing to sell Xhaka this year, which will make it quite interesting. So I think we're waiting. But I do think this week we could see some movement, and it is possibly significant. The player we could see some movement from is the team we're playing next, which is Leicester, which is quite interesting.
Just want to say that's a really good point, Jack. I like that. That's a really good point.
I think it. I mean, I could be completely wrong. We go left field, get someone we don't know of, but obviously we've been linked to 1 or 2 key players throughout the whole window, and one of them at Leicester's got a year left on his contract. They basically said he's going, so he's either going to us or someone else. So it'll be really interesting, I think, this week, because, you know, we're playing them. There's that to think in mind, you know, all that sort of stuff. It will just be really, really interesting this week, I think, transfer-wise. I think we'll start to see some links after this weekend's games are out of the way. But one last thing, great to see the whole collective crowd singing the Vieira song at the end. I thought that was nice, wasn't it? I mean, obviously, if we weren't winning, maybe we don't sing it so loud and proud, but it was fantastic. And as soon as I saw Vieira wear a beautiful suit with trainers, I knew we were winning the game. I went, that's not a combination you want to go for, Patrick, son. Okay, do the tracksuit with the tray, or do the suit with the shoes, but don't mix and match. But love him. It's so odd, isn't it, to see him on the sidelines and not being part of your team. It is still a little bit weird, but I think doing a terrific job at Palace. I mean, look what he's had. He's had a split squad. They've had a difficult pre-season, but they've got some. I mean, I thought that Eze was a proper. He looks a real talent, and I've not really watched much of him.
Stop diving, and you'll be a good player.
Well, yeah, that was my biggest annoyance. I was like, okay, Xhaka's dive is stupid, but Eze dived like 3 times and didn't get a booking. And their first booking was to a player that I think
his numbers marked with the refs, mate. That's the thing with him. I'm like, yes, Xhaka. Yeah. You complain that you're hard done, but I'm like, because of your own faults for 6 years, That's why you get booked, buddy.
Yeah.
Because you when you do something stupid, they're like, well, yeah, you've been a stupid bloke for 6 years, so you
self-manufactured, isn't it, James? At the end of the day.
And he's so blatant with it, isn't it? I mean, the dive you can see from a different stadium. He's so blatant with it. I was like, you've got to be cleverer with it. Like, if you're going to do it, to be real, clever with it, catch a leg somewhere or something. But he's just silly with it. But overall, terrific. Just a quick thing on incoming. So we've got about 2.5 weeks left of the window-ish. Sorry, I'm just checking. No, 3 weeks maybe left of the window. Expecting Pepe to go, Nelson to go, Niles to go, Bellerin to stay. I think we're terminating his contract, possibly Bellerin. It sounds like to get his way. He just wants to go back to Real Betis. I don't know. They must have fantastic trees and lettuce wraps or something. But sorry. I love him really. But it's going to be really interesting. There was one thing I want to say on the team. I do wonder whether when Tomiyasu comes back, whether that mitigates the defensive liabilities of Zinchenko, because he's more of an inverted fullback and create a free. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Ben White, I think sometimes pushes up a little bit more. He got caught with the yellow card against Zaha. I don't know. With Tomiyasu, I do feel like he's a bit more of a sort of safety net in terms of the switching from a back three to a back four. So it might be interesting that if Tomiyasu ever comes back, I mean, the guy's been
he will
time. I know, yeah. And we still got him. We still got Smith Rowe. We still got Fabio Vieira. Still got Tierney. Squad is good if we, but we definitely could add maybe one or two more would be lovely. I still got a feeling Mikel Arteta's going to sign a centre back, but whatever. That's going to be very, very interesting. Yeah, well, I don't know. James, predictions?
No.
For predictions for Leicester, and if you want, give me a prediction if you think anything's happening in or out this week and as well in the window.
Well, Jack, for me, I keep seeing obviously the man that's at Leicester, Tielemans. Let's throw his name into the hat. But there's a little part of me that thinks if you were the first, if you're the primary target, why haven't you been done yet? And is that because they're waiting because they know that is it the fee? And they're like, we know you want to sell him. We know he wants to leave. And Arsenal are trying to get a preferential deal for him. But there was a lot of reports this week that there are still serious reservations from the manager and that scouting department in terms of the guy's defensive capabilities. And we've all said before, Jack, he's not the most press-resistant lad. So part of me thinks, are we going to go maybe like Fabio Vieira was and get someone that was completely not on our list? Someone that we don't even, could be someone we've never even considered or heard of in that role. So that's very interesting to me. In my opinion, I think we should look at who plays for Leicester today. If he's not in the squad at all, that's probably going to be telling. However, I do think if we are to get him, it's probably going to be in a situation not exactly the same to when Oxlade-Chamberlain played for us. And then I think we sold him to Liverpool, 2 days or a day after? I think Leicester will be of the impression, yes, you can have him, but you can't have him to hurt us straight away. So you can have him probably afterwards. So I think maybe it will probably be the next game's on the Saturday, I believe, isn't it? So yes, it'll probably be that Monday of next week.
So maybe it moves a little bit later,
or it's going to be a left field choice. But no, I definitely think even going off, we've been very quiet normally in terms of what we do transfer wise, and it's only certain people in the media that get these tip offs. We're very good at keeping it sort of stum. But no, like Neil said, he was especially. I don't know what you got out there on your coverage, Jack, but when he was stood there and he had Souness's daughter and Neville and Carragher, he was so much more expressive in terms of incomings than I've ever seen him. And even
pushing it down to the board again, isn't he?
Well, more so
laying down the gauntlet. He's very good at
that. More so than any other Arsenal manager really that I've seen.
Very open about
Wenger
it.
was, other than when he presented Sol Campbell when he was on cloud 9, like all of us were. I think that's the only time he's really gone, look at this. He was never really braggadocious about anyone he bought and everything. It was just very, this is what we're doing. This is why we've done it. It was just very open and shut case. So to have Arteta being like, no, we are going to do it. And I think
He's much more honest with the media, to be fair.
Oh, of course.
Much more honest, yeah.
I think he understands it and he sees the fact, I think he's very self-aware, especially with, again, I've not watched any of it yet. That was what today's going to be. I thought I'll watch the game yesterday, then I'll go on to Amazon on Saturday, Sunday and get that done. And then we can all come back and talk about that. I'm guessing you boys have probably stayed up all night and finished it. Or
yeah,
done it all
you
in
did
one
it as well,
sitting.
Neil, didn't you? Yeah. Well, it's good. It's a bit of a bird's eye view, but it's good. It's good.
Do you know what I mean? The older feel-good dopamine's going around with the fans. So give them a little bit more whilst they're, I've won a game whilst they're on the up. Keep them up. Don't knock them back down again. So, very all aware, very on brand for the club. Nice new third shirt yesterday.
That's going to sell out like hotcakes, but it's already sold out in the kids. I was telling Neil, but I've got to get it. I'm waiting to get the kids all in one. But James, just quick, what is your prediction for Arsenal, Leicester, Arsenal at home? Leicester, just a quick thing. I mean, they haven't signed anyone. They've sold their number one goalkeeper, and they replaced him with someone within the squad.
Mm-hmm.
They've also lost. You tell me, but is Pereira their starting fullback? If he is, he's out for 6 months with an Achilles tear. Yeah. So they've got some issues, and they can't. It doesn't look like they can sign anyone until they can sell someone. Brendan Rodgers basically said that. So they're waiting to get fees in, which will probably be Chelsea spunking a load of money again. But yeah. And what's your prediction, James?
I'm going to do exactly. You know what? I'm going to do exactly the same as this game. I'm going to go for 2-0.
You took mine. First score. Go ahead.
Do you know what? I look like that. I look like the bloke, so I'm going to go for Jesus.
Yes, I like it. The different one, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, he's much better than much better.
Neil, any predictions for? You hate predictions for signings. Give me the prediction for the game.
Oh, but no, I won't do predictions for signings. Game wise, 6-0.
6-0.
Yeah, no, I'm not joking. We're going to be at home. I think we're going to be a different outfit that we saw against Palace. I think we're going to sustain that magic. I think we'll be 4-0 up within 35 minutes.
I love it, Neil.
I'm not joking. And I think Jesus might.
Can we delete this if anything changes in that game?
No, because I always say 4-0 anyway. So we'll do only 2 more goals. I mean, come on, I wouldn't be that greedy. Can I just say something about the something very quickly? I know we're running out of time, but about the documentary? I was really sceptical about it. I was against it, actually. I thought we should be focusing on football, and then all of a sudden the manager signs a contract before he secured 4th place. I was really pissed off about all of that. But actually, having watched it, without giving anything away, James, so don't worry, there's no spoilers. I actually think it's been quite good.
I watched last season, Neil. It's not a spoiler.
No. Oh, all right, fair enough. You know what I mean? The documentary, I think, is quite insightful. Actually, it's very insightful. And I think it's really come at actually it's been released at a really good time when we have made some good signings. The club is almost on a high after seeing those magical pre-season performances, and I think it's buoyed the club. It really has. And so far, touch wood, I don't think. I mean, because I don't watch that mob anyway, but I don't think there have been any of those mob in the documentary, which I was fearful of, because I thought if they're in it, I'm not even going to watch the damn thing if I see any of them lot. And I don't think there have been. So far.
Not yet.
So far.
Not yet.
But 6-0. 6-0.
They won't be. Don't worry.
Who's your first score for your 6-0 bashing?
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus. Okay. Well, I feel like my predictions is going to be very underwhelming. But I'll go 3-1. 3-1. And I'll say first score Martinelli again. So it'll be interesting. And my prediction for the week, for what it's worth. By the way, I think the thing that makes me think we are going for Tielemans is, do you remember Thomas Partey? He was our number one choice. We waited till the last day, didn't we? But although there was some argument that he wasn't with the AOR stuff, but it was a big outlay for a player. But I do think it might be a one that we're just, we've been linked to. I find it really hard not to believe in some of the links there. But I tell you a player who I'd love to fill maybe even the 6-8 role, who reminded me so much of Vieira, is that Sangar at PSV. I think it's Sangar. He's their number 6. He's an unbelievable player. Has a 37 million release clause. Of course, I watched PSV mainly for Gakpo, the winger, because I thought we might be going after him. But that was the player that stood out to me. And I was like, we could. That would make me feel a lot more comfortable in the 6 to 8 role. But like you, I do find it a bit strange because Tielemans is a player that I've always watched being really good with his output. But again, tracking back and defensively, I've always been like, wondering if of course, you go back to the Tottenham game, whatever, 2-1 up, and then he had his moment in that game and they lost 3-2. But obviously, a lot of people say it wasn't one of his best seasons last season because he was already thinking about a move away. So it'll be interesting. Boys, it's been brilliant. Just one other thing. Mike started a channel, Arsenal Above All, on Twitter. Looks really good. Way more high tech than I could do, I'll tell you that much. But I don't know what he's doing with it. He's not keeping it secret, but he says, things are to come. But go support it. Go follow Arsenal Above All on Twitter. Obviously, Mike will still be coming on the podcast whenever he can. He's busy. He's got kids, running around all the time. But whenever we can get him back on here, we will. But try as hard as we can to do one post game a week. I know it's super hard with my time difference and my kid. It's mainly my fault. But try as much as we can because I think it's going to be a really exciting season for us.
Yeah,
but
it
again,
is.
Yeah, really, really exciting. I think, just quick before we go, Neil, because we haven't had you for a while, what is your expectations, obviously, without saying, title, quad and all that, but what's your expectations realistically for the season? 'Cause it's a big season for Arsenal, but a bigger season for Arteta as well.
Look, the biggest thing is getting into the Champions League, and if that's the route, if that route is by winning the Europa League, I never say that, Europa League, then that's fine, but we've got to be top four. I'm sorry.
Gotta be.
He's now. It's almost now his squad. He's been there. He's bedded in.
It's everyone, yeah.
It's all Arteta. It's Arteta's identity now, and it's got to be top four. Sorry, top four is minimum for me. If we don't get top four, I'll be disappointed. Even if we win the Europa Cup and get into the Champions League. So for me, top four minimum.
Neil, thank you very, very much, Neil.
Yeah. I agree.
So
I think the league's really
glad
important.
you're here, Neil.
Really, really important. That's why I'm watching. I think James, I'll probably just text more about it, but I'm watching Chelsea, I'm watching United and Tottenham really closely with what they do in the, because those are the tight sides we're competing with. Let's be honest. If we're going to get top four, you're competing with Tottenham, Man U, Chelsea. I think Liverpool and City, even the most optimistic of us, probably thinks it'd be nice to close the gap on them, but they're probably a level above. So I'm watching everything they're doing really closely. I think Chelsea got some issues despite spending probably 250 million this summer, whatever they're going to spend. United as well. They've got Ronaldo, who doesn't want to be there. Harry Maguire is a donkey. They got De Gea.
You should have heard Gary Neville yesterday talking about Ronaldo. It's hilarious. He's like, "Oh no, you've got to stay. You've got to come out and say something."
He didn't complain about him wanting it out and not turning up for practice like he does for every other club.
Oh, absolutely.
Real hypocrite at times, isn't he, Gary Neville? really winds me up now. He never used to. I always thought he came across well, but now
I used to always like him. Always. I still like Roy Keane, though. I have to say. I do like Roy Keane. Yeah.
King. Well, he lays it out pretty clear, didn't he? Him and Michael Richards have a good bit of
brilliant. Fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. But we'll be back hopefully after the Leicester game next Saturday. Follow us at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. We post all our podcasts there. We're on YouTube. Just subscribe to us, Purely Arsenal, and we will try to be as regular as we can this season. And thank you, James, for the recording. You can stop it right now. Up the Arsenal. Cheers, boys.
Come on, you
get some sleep, mate.